The Epstein Files refer to thousands of pages of legal documents that became public years after the death of Jeffrey Epstein, revealing in unprecedented detail how his sex trafficking operation functioned and how it was allowed to continue for decades. Contrary to popular belief, the Epstein Files are not a single secret dossier or an official government report. They are a collection of court records released through civil lawsuits, depositions, and judicial orders, most notably from cases brought by Epstein's victims against his estate and associates. These files remained sealed for years under court rules designed to protect victims and preserve fair legal process, but the secrecy also shielded powerful individuals from public scrutiny. The most significant release occurred in 2024, when a U.S. judge ordered the unsealing of hundreds of documents connected to litigation involving Epstein's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. These records included sworn testimony, emails, travel logs, calendars, and contact lists. The documents were explosive not because they proved new crimes outright, but because they exposed the scale of Epstein's social network and the environments in which abuse allegedly took place. Victims described being recruited as minors, often under the guise of paid massages, and being trafficked across Epstein's properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Their testimony painted a consistent picture of coercion, manipulation, and repeated abuse. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the Epstein Files is the appearance of hundreds of well-known names. Politicians, business leaders, academics, celebrities, and members of royalty were mentioned across various documents. In many cases, individuals appeared simply because they were named in testimony, listed in contact books, or recorded in flight logs. Courts and journalists have repeatedly emphasized that being mentioned in the files does not mean a person committed a crime. There is no verified client list contained in the documents, despite widespread claims online. The files instead reflect associations, allegations, and social proximity, not legal conclusions. Flight logs became a focal point of public attention, showing repeated trips between Epstein's properties aboard his private jets. While these records demonstrated how frequently Epstein moved people across borders, they do not establish what occurred on those trips. Similarly, emails and scheduling notes revealed how Epstein arranged meetings and cultivated relationships with influential figures, reinforcing the idea that his wealth and connections provided him with protection and legitimacy. The files show patterns of access and opportunity rather than definitive proof of participation by every individual named. Beyond individual names, the Epstein Files expose a broader institutional failure. Victims reported abuse years before meaningful legal action was taken, and prosecutors, in 2008, granted Epstein a highly controversial plea deal that effectively halted a federal investigation and provided immunity to potential co-conspirators. These decisions, now scrutinized through the lens of the released documents, demonstrate how power, money, and fear of influential backlash can distort justice. The files show that Epstein's crimes were not only the result of individual wrongdoing, but also of systemic negligence. Despite their volume, the Epstein Files do not answer every question. They do not fully explain the origin of Epstein's wealth, the extent of his financial backers, or why safeguards failed so completely across multiple institutions. Epstein's death in custody ensured that many potential answers were lost forever. What the files do provide is a permanent public record, one that validates survivors' experiences and forces society to confront how abuse can thrive when wealth and influence go unchecked. Ultimately, The Epstein Files matter not because they satisfy curiosity, but because they document patterns of exploitation, silence, and protection. They stand as evidence of how justice can fail the vulnerable and why transparency, even years later, remains essential. The files may be incomplete, but their impact continues to shape public understanding of power, accountability, and the cost of looking away.